tutti seduti al tavolo, a partire dalla mia destra in fondo, lo sceneggiatore David Kajanic, Jessica Harper, Grace Moretz, Dakota Johnson, il regista del film Luca Guadagnino, Tilda Swinton, Mia Gold, il compositore delle musiche Tom York, segnalo anche in sala la presenza di dei produttori Marco Moravito e Brad Fisher. Sfortunatamente Lutz Ebersford non è potuto venire, però ha lasciato un messaggio che credo che abbia vita.
Hello. Lutz Ebersdorf, our colleague, very sadly is not present, but he did send us a message to read to you. I hope I can read his writing. To the esteemed ladies and gentlemen of the press, I am very sorry not to be able to greet you in person. I am a private individual who prefers to remain private. To quote Dr. Klemperer, the illusion that is the handwork of my colleagues is not mine. When Luca first proposed to me to take this part, I asked him why, when he could have so many more suitable people, he would choose me. He told me the audience would enjoy to see a new face. I thought, why not? Warum denn nicht? It will be fun. And it was. Though I strongly suspect Suspiria will be the only film I ever appear in, I like the work, and I do not mind getting up very early. It was an especial privilege to work alongside the beautiful Jessica Harper, whose graciousness I have long admired, and whose kindness I will never forget. There cannot have been, in recent history, a more pressing time to remind ourselves of the dangers of delusion, the perils of falling into a group mind untethered from ethical foundations, and what can easily become the reactive hysteria of separatism. I am myself retired from my life's work as a psychoanalyst now, but I would urge any of you disturbed by this film to seek a good therapist. Self-reflection is never a wasted enterprise. With my best wishes to you all, Lutz Ebersdorf, Berlin, August 2018.
Okay, do we have a question there? Yeah.
Sì, buongiorno, avevo due domande per Luca per cominciare. La prima è questa, ovvero se dopo Chiamami col tuo nome, che è un film sulla scoperta della vita, dell'amore, questo potevi considerarlo un film sulla scoperta altrettanto dolorosa ma altrettanto inebriante della morte. E poi la seconda è sulla danza in senso stretto, cioè che rapporto hai tu con questo mezzo espressivo, perché a me la cosa che ha più commosso del film è il rispecchiamento che tu fai con la danza, soprattutto il rapporto allo sfregio del bello nella scena in cui Madame Blanc parla con la sua allieva Susie e dice appunto che la danza non è né bella né allegra, che deve dare sostanzialmente un colpo, uno schiaffo al naso sul bello, al bello. Grazie.
Ho perso la prima domanda. La puoi ripetere? Non ricordo.
Un film sulla scoperta dell'amore o un film sulla scoperta della morte?
È difficile perché io non tematizzo mai i film che faccio mentre li faccio. I film si fanno e poi i film parlano in maniera indipendente dai propri realizzatori. Diciamo che in Suspiria, non so se è la questione della scoperta della morte, certamente è un film sul terribile nei rapporti interpersonali, sul terribile del femminile e sul terribile nella storia. La seconda domanda l'ho persa di nuovo perché sono un po' agitato.
La seconda domanda è il suo rapporto con la danza.
io amo il metodo espressivo della danza profondamente e non sono un esperto, però è un piacere straordinario per me vedere a teatro o anche rivedere clip in cui grandi coreografi si esprimono. In questo caso specifico abbiamo avuto il privilegio di lavorare con un grandissimo coreografo che è qui presente, che è Damien Jallet. Era cruciale per questo film che la danza non fosse un orpello, come direbbe Madame Blanc, ma che piuttosto permettesse di essere utilizzato come personaggio, come linguaggio, in questo caso come linguaggio della trascendenza della magia.
Here, question to Luca. I have two questions for you, if possible. I would like to hear some words about your work with Weinberg in the production design of the film. And if you could please say a few words about your relation with Dario Argento, his films, his works in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm very specific when it comes to production design, and I'm a bit of a pain in the ass to my production designers. But I found a right antagonist in Imbal because we were really fierce and passionate. I'm Arab and she's Israeli, and so a match made in heaven. And we both, I was impressed by how she came with her collection of images when we met after the first time, because we both really wanted to root this movie in the German modernism and try to seek some sort of foundation of the 30s that remains in these 70s. We really, I mean, both of us, we strive for kind of perfectionism when it comes to everything that has to do with the decor, the sets. We shot the movie in this abandoned hotel at the top of a mountain in Varese that I found, which was built at the end of the 19th century, so it was in the style of the Art Nouveau, and it was beautiful because it was so wide and tall, so we couldn't, I see there how you could put all these characters going up and down without having a sense of suffocation. Actually, it was a world, but what we had to do is we had to wipe off the Art Nouveau and bring back the Art Deco. And that was tremendous with Imbal. We had also a great ally in many people that helped, and I want to name also Marisa Lombardo, our set decorator, which was really fantastic. We really found things that were so forgotten in very remote places in Germany to make this world be alive. And the second question was? Dario, I love Dario. We love Dario. I would not sit here if it wasn't for Dario. I am becoming a stalker of master filmmakers, but it's true, I am a stalker of master filmmakers. And Dario is one of them. And I'll tell you a little light anecdote. After I saw Suspiria, I of course started to see all the other films, and I was like 15, something like that, maybe younger. And I remember I was in Palermo, and somebody called my mom and said, there is Dario Argento in a restaurant someplace in town, tell to your son. And I went alone, and I stayed on the window of the restaurant like this until he finished the dinner. And he was really worried because Dario is a very kind person, and I think he was in paranoia of who's this young man looking at me from the window. I was me. As Tilda points out, the scene is in the film at the Paris bar.
I have a little bit of a follow-up question. Since we talk about production, as I like to ask Luca, and possibly David can also join. Why did you? How did you choose Germany in the 70s as a context of the as a background of the film?
I think our first thought was that there was a lot in the original, a lot of the political context around the era of the original had gone somewhat unplumbed in Dario's film, and so I thought, our first conversation was about how do we take some of that and actualize it, rather than try to modernize the film, to just simply deepen what our concerns and our sort of passions about the original were. And so that brought us to Germany in the 70s, but also we wanted to try to take on some of the political subtext of the time more directly, and so setting it in Berlin seemed to be the easiest way to do that.
And just to add a little coda to this, is also the 77 was a very important period of time for the feminist revolts, particularly in Europe for the non-Europeans. Great movements in France, great movements in Italy. In Italy, in particular, the feminism of the time was not about, like in America, finding a place in which there was equality, but it was about difference. Luisa Muraro infused those theories at the time. And we were really interested in that, very, very much, given the subject of the film. And also, and lastly, it is the decade of the great film of Fassbinder, and we wanted to go back there.
I think the mic is right there.
Hi, Stephen Schaefer, Boston Herald. Congratulations, everyone. I'd love to ask the actresses what it was like working with Luca in this witch's coven that is the center part of the movie, and for Tilda, if you could comment on the two roles, why you decided to do this.
What two roles?
You're Madame Blanc.
I played Madame Blanc,
yes. And I assume that you played Dr. Klemperer.
As you will see from the credits and on all the posters, Dr. Klemperer is played by Lutz Ebersdorf, who sent a message that I read just now.
So there's an Oscar campaign that's going to be for this?
For Lutz Ebersdorf, I hope.
Okay.
Can the actress just maybe answer the question? It was how, I think it was about how did you work with Luca?
What do I do? Oh. I'm techno-challenged. I personally loved working with Lutz Ebersdorf. I found him an incredible acting partner, but in large part also because we were guided by Luca, who, as you know from many of his films, has an incredible gift for evoking great emotion in intimate moments in film. He really does that extremely well, and it worked. And so I knew that that's how it would go down with me and Lutz, and I think it did. And he was also just very gentle and embracing you as an actor. So really great experience for me.
It was incredible working with Luca. I have a small part in the film, but it was an incredible opportunity to not have anything be off the table. No matter what ideas I brought to Luca, it was never no, maybe let's try this. It was yes and more. And he allowed you to overcome your fears as an actor, which, I think some directors tend to take your word for it if you don't want to go into certain areas of your soul to find the torment, but I think we explored that in this, and it was just a wonderful opportunity.
This was my second time working with Luca, so I felt I had a sort of foundation of ease and safety, and we know each other very well at this point, and I feel like I'm able to do anything when I'm in his hands. And because the film is about things that I loved so much and still love so much, it's about, the obvious things like dancers and witches and magic. And I grew up just loving these things and being fascinated by groups of women and feeling like they were mysterious and magical, and to have this sort of inside look with this person that I love so much, that I love working with so much, into something that's been so mystical to me was perfect. My truly a dream come true project for me.
Well, I've known Luca for a very, 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 very long time, and he's one of my closest friends. We are pretty much blood related. I mean, very much blood related now, I would say. You know, working with him, living alongside him, is home for me, and it's a great, great piece of luck as a filmmaker to find other filmmakers to work with this kind, as Dakota says, this kind of ease. But beyond ease, there's this sense of daring each other, which is really important when making art together. Filmmaking is entirely collaborative, and we need to be close together. And when you know that the person who's standing next to you has got as low a boredom threshold as you do, and is going to be as uninterested in something they've seen before as you are, then you are really safe, because you can keep amusing each other and pushing each other. So for me, it's it's not even a question of work, it's a question of life working alongside Luca. It's my piece of luck.
Luca is a maestro at what he does, and so from the very beginning it was a complete honour to get the chance to work with him. And as soon as I landed in Italy, he welcomed me with wide arms, and I felt instantly welcomed into this very much like a family that he has around him, and I found a lot of comfort and safety in that. And one of the things I found most fulfilling working with Luca. Well, first it reminded me, being on set with him, what I imagined perhaps being on set with like a Kubrick or a Fellini was like. There's something that is so passionate and inspiring to work with him. And second, he pushes you, and he always believes in you, even sometimes when you have doubts within yourself, and that's incredibly empowering to work opposite someone who is so talented and to believe in you in the way he does. It's incredibly fulfilling.
Mike is here.
Mariana Vinci, Radio Cinema, una domanda per Tom York. Mi sembra che questa sia la prima volta che lei lavora ad una soundtrack, e volevo sapere se ha visto il film di Dario Argento in cui la colonna sonora era molto presente, e come ha lavorato su questa, se vi siete date delle indicazioni. La colonna sonora chiaramente è completamente diversa, e quindi questo, grazie.
Yeah, I referred to the original Suspiria film. It was an odd process from the beginning, because when you first came to see me with producers and Walter, I just thought they were mad, because I'd never done a soundtrack before, and Suspiria is one of those legendary soundtracks. So I took a few months to sort of even contemplate the idea, but it was one of those moments in your life where you kind of want to run away, but you know you'll regret it if you can't, if you do. So I watched the film, the original, several times, and I loved it because it was of that time, incredibly intense soundtrack. Obviously, Goblin and Dario worked really closely when they did it together. But it was of its time, and there was no way I could reference it in any way at all. There was no point. Other than what I found interesting was they used repetition of motifs again and again and again and again and again, where part of your mind is saying, please, please, I don't want to hear this anymore, please, please. And that was really great, because that's a form of, that sort of hooked me into the whole process, because it was, there's a way of repeating in music which can hypnotize, and I kept thinking to myself it was a form of making spells. So when I was working in my studio, I was making spells, and it sounds really stupid, but that's how I was thinking about it, because it was a sort of freedom that I've not had before. I'm not working in the format of a song arrangement. I'm just exploring. I'm putting things out into my studio and seeing what my studio is bringing back. So it was a sort of, maybe a launch, a beginning launch of an idea, but after that, and where Luca wanted to take it and where he was suggesting we went with it, and all the references you were talking about, 1977, I immediately was focusing on krautrock and all the music of that period and previous to that I really loved. And it was just a really cool way to totally immerse myself in an area I wouldn't normally go with full permission.
Sì, Nicola Passarotto per Esquire, ho una domanda per il regista. Volevo sapere quanto e in quale modo la visione delle figure femminili di Fassbinder l'ha influenzata in questo film.
Pronto? Direi al 100%, perché Fassbinder è stato un grande maestro della crudeltà e soprattutto ha creato personaggi femminili incredibili insieme alle sue magnifiche interpreti, donne non riconciliate, tormentate, mai sconfitte, mai vittime, anche se pensate a un film come La paura mangia l'anima. I personaggi di Fassbinder mettono in movimento un gioco di crudeltà, ma non sono mai schiacciate. E per me, per Dave, per tutti noi è stata una grande influenza.
Giulia Comolli del settimanale Chi, una domanda per Dakota Johnson. Ho letto che ha dichiarato che dopo le riprese del film ha sentito il bisogno di mettersi in analisi. Ecco, vorrei capire, al di là di quello che di forte o disturbante possiamo aver visto noi sullo schermo, che cosa ha toccato delle corde così profonde in lei da sentire questa necessità? Se la riflessione sul senso di colpa, sull'elemento femminile, materno, ecco, la parola a lei. Grazie.
First of all, I was not psychoanalyzed, and I hope I never will be. I find sometimes when I work on a project, and I don't know if I don't have any shame in this, but I'm a very porous person, and I absorb a lot of people's feelings, and when you're working sometimes with dark subject matter, it can stay with you, and then to talk to somebody really nice about it afterwards is a really nice way to move on from the project. And my therapist is a really nice woman. But having said that, the experience was not traumatic. It was the most fun and the most exhilarating and the most joyful that it could be. It's like a constant, it's mischievous and play, and I love it more than anything. So it wasn't that this film sent me, to a psych ward. I just have a lot of feelings.
Down there.
Buongiorno, Adele Blasi per Primo Cinema. Intanto grazie a Luca Guadagnino per un bel momento di cinema. Volevo chiederle se nel costruire il personaggio di Tilda Swinton lei ha in qualche modo visto un po' Pina Bausch. Io ho visto questo come, senza togliere niente al bravissimo coreografo francese, ma ho visto anche dei movimenti di danza della Bausch, oltre al personaggio di Tilda, che è molto simile a lei. Se è solo una mia percezione o era quello che lei voleva? Grazie.
Mi spiace perché non so dove si trova la signora. Eccola, era seduta, si nascondeva.
No, non
penso che Damien Jallet possa dire, e se è così Damien alza la mano, che Pina Bausch è comunque la sua mamma, io sì, e quindi è sicuramente un'influenza che ci abbiamo tutti. Noi abbiamo lavorato su molti codici dal punto di vista della personalità, dal punto di vista della costruzione del personaggio, e su questo vorrei che anche Dave aggiungesse qualcosa. Dal punto di vista estetico, come era la presenza di questa nostra Madame Blanc, è stato un ragionamento profondo che abbiamo fatto tutti insieme, io, Tilda, Giulia Piersanti, la straordinaria costumista di questo film, truccatore, la parrucchiera, la truccatrice. Certamente Pina Bausch è un'icona che ha influenzato il personaggio, ma anche pensiamo a Mary Wigman o a Martha Graham. Dave?
When I was researching dance for the film, I came across a curious quote from Goebbels, where he said that dance must be beautiful and cheerful and in no way philosophical. And I thought, there's in some way thematically what this film is about in a nutshell. And so I went back to Pina Bausch, I went back to Martha Graham, I went back to Mary Wigman, and I tried to look at performances I could find from those choreographers for things that were neither cheerful nor beautiful as a starting place in terms of what the movement of this film could look like. Because you've seen the film, you know the movement in the film is more than just artistry, it's also spellcasting in our Suspiria. It's meant to be delivering aesthetic information, but also occult information. And so certainly Pina Bausch was an influence for how the scenes got blocked. And you know, in talking with Damian about these choreographers that were kind of coded into the script from my point of view, you know, was it useful for him to then pick up some of that coding and evolve it into what you see in the film? And we both decided that was a great way to collaborate from writer to choreographer, which isn't often the kind of collaboration the film has, but it was certainly Pina Bausch and all of those other luminaries, but I was looking for the cracks in their dances that we could sort of fill in with the weird glue of our film.
So, one other point of reference was?
Oh yes, an important point of reference for me was the great creation of Lermontov in Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger's The Red Shoes, played by the extraordinary Anton Walbrook. I mean, let's face it, he's always a reference for everything we do, I think, Luca. But for this, that sense of ego and charisma and doubt and a kind of perverse attachment to art above everything was such a beautiful territory to step into, and something that had always, because of my great love of that character in that particular film by those particular filmmakers, was a great opportunity.
Buongiorno. Sara Sagrati, Cinemino Milano, ciao Luca. Scusate, faccio una domanda in italiano se non vi dispiace, e Luca perdonami già per la domanda, perché dopo questa bella conversazione sul tuo film mi tocca fare una domanda a rompipalle. Visto che hai fatto questo film che è un monumento a quello che noi donne possiamo fare quando ci uniamo insieme, e te ne ringrazio fortemente, non posso non chiederti cosa ne pensi del movimento Me Too. Questo film è iniziato sicuramente molto prima, ma mi tocca fare la domanda a rompipalle.
Non è una domanda rompipalle, è una domanda, diciamo, da pagina delle news. È molto interessante dal nostro punto di vista, quando dico nostro intendo dire degli uomini e in particolar modo di un europeo, guardare al movimento Me Too, che invece è così profondamente femminile e americano. E evidentemente è stata una, come dire, watershed, come si dice, un passaggio dal quale non si torna più indietro, che ha investito le coscienze. Suspiria è stato fatto prima e mi piace pensare che il nostro lavoro, questo, quello precedente, quello futuro, provenga sempre e comunque da un piacevole desiderio di non essere mai nella posizione di schiacciare l'altro col proprio potere.
Unfortunately, they came twice already to tell me that the time is out, and I want to thank our guests for being here.